My name is Mason Thrall. I'm from Boulder. If you attended my my presentation this morning on SketchUp and digital photography, this will probably be a lot of repeat stuff, but just with a few extra things thrown in. So what this is intended as a tutorial on how to make models for Google Earth and how to get them put into the default layer in Google Earth. So if you haven't checked it out, which I'm sure probably most of you have, there's a 3D buildings layer in Google Earth, which can be accessed from the side here. It's under 3D buildings. There's two sublayers in here, photorealistic and gray. The photorealistic layer includes many models from the 3D warehouse. There are many areas throughout the world that have been modeled by various users of SketchUp and for many various reasons, such as promotion of their city, promotion of their resort, and other ways just for putting their data online in a 3D way so that people can access it and see it. So I'm going to first start off by showing a few examples of what this looks like when it's done, and then kind of go into the tutorial and talk about how you can do this. If you have any questions at any time, just raise your hand and I will try to answer them. So, sound good? Okay. There's this one town in Tennessee called McMinnville, Tennessee. I actually traveled to this town to teach them about what I'm going to teach you, and taught about 30 people in the town how to do this geomodeling thing, and they produced this model of their town, which they're using to promote the city and promote the city and try to drive tourism to their town and promote the revitalization of their downtown. So you can see how that resulted, and it's pretty sweet. There's also so the buildings, once they're in the layer, they also have they're all clickable, so you can click on the buildings and get more information about them. So this, you click on a building and it tells you some information about the building. All of this information is stored in the Google 3D warehouse, so as when you make a model and upload it, you can attach whatever data you want to the building, and then anybody in the world can view it. So and then this is even cooler because with the new Google Earth plugin that you can download and make your own applications on web pages using this, and just anybody can go to your web page and go and see your 3D buildings in Google Earth. So that's really cool. Yeah, so just more clicking on buildings. Also, there was another thing that happened really recently, which was Disney World was modeled in Google Earth using these same methods I'm going to talk about today. And so this is an example of a big organization having this sort of data made where they can where anybody in the world can go and see what the place looks like in 3D and click on the buildings and get information about them. So a lot of the hotels here in Disney World you can click on and find out information about them, as well as rides and stuff like that. So for example, you can see that it can be pretty detailed.
They do all that with SketchUp?
Yeah, this is all SketchUp and Photoshop. And it's pretty cool. Like, they have custom balloons, so you can click on them and they do special things.
What's going to be the policy in terms of trees to go along with building models for a community? McMinnville didn't have any trees, and you can tell the difference if you look at Disney here. It looks much nicer.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, we request that if you're making trees, that you make them as separate models from the buildings. But other than that, if you make them, we'll display them. But yeah, make them separate from the building models, just in case we don't want to display them at some point. And so that's a pretty cool example. And all of this is done. So one of the things that is really important when doing this sort of modeling is that the models have to be really simple. They have to be really like a lightweight in polygon count, and use textures or photographs to show most of the details on the model. So if you look at a lot of these models, you'll see that like the trees are not actually very detailed. They're just like sort of images with transparency on them, and they're just cross two planes together. Like a lot of the details in these buildings are actually are single faces using transparency to show a lot of the details. But even with this, you would never guess that these are actually really simple models, but they are. Yes?
Yeah, I feel really stupid because all my clients can do what you're doing right now, and I can't do it.
What is that?
I mean, I can only look on it from aerial view, and I know there's something I just need to know. And
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and ask it here because none of these people will know me after this.
Okay, so
how do I do that?
Okay, so he's wondering about navigating in Google Earth, and that's a valid point. And like, there's a lot of people that still have trouble with it. If you're familiar with navigating in SketchUp, it probably won't help you because it's different. So, actually, no, it's not too much different. So it'll probably help you actually. So you all you have to do is you can click the mouse down to drag it around, which is really, you've probably done that before. To tilt, you just hold down the mouse wheel. And just like hold down the mouse wheel.
Okay.
And just as you're holding it down, you can tilt. Also, if you drag with the right mouse button, it will zoom in and out, and it will also swoop you down, so you're basically standing on the ground, which it's doing it right now.
Well, half the time I'll do that in something and it doesn't have any detail at all, and I get that white screen.
Oh,
So,
the white screen?
well, it says, it's just white, and it says, zoom out for detail, you can't zoom into it.
That's only in maps. In Google Earth, that doesn't ever happen because it will always display the imagery, even if it's even if it's like too blurry. So yeah, that only happens in maps.
So
but
not only do I not know how to do it, but I'm in the wrong application.
yeah, that might be part of it.
Oh my God, how embarrassing! Right.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's probably part of the problem.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, there's the ability.
Right. The whole world will know how stupid I am.
You're not stupid. It's okay.
Oops. My 11-year-old can do this. I can't.
Okay, so there's also another cool thing that you can do, which is you can model interiors of buildings as well using just normal SketchUp stuff. It looks a lot better if you also use photos on those because Google Earth being an imagery viewing application, it's really just everything blends together better if you use photos, but you don't have to. You can model just normal SketchUp models and put them in Google Earth just the same. But the way that we work when we're picking buildings for the layer is we put preference on buildings which are textured with photographs. But if the best building for an area does not have photographs, we will oftentimes take it. So let me just show you a building which has interior modeled. Oops, I need to learn how to spell. Okay. Okay, so this is a pretty cool building in Washington, D.C. No, this is the National Building Museum. But if you zoom in and fly inside,
Wow.
you can see that the interior is actually modeled on this building as well.
Has Disney done any of that, of? Like Wilderness Lodge or something?
No, I don't think Disney did any interiors, but
Bums.
yeah, I know. But so you can imagine, you know, if you were trying to promote anything that was building related, this would be a pretty cool way to do it. And it's you can do it all for free. You can do all of this in the SketchUp free version and using the Google Earth free version. So it's pretty cool.
Nobody was using sidewalks in those things. Does that take a lot of polygon count up? Because it seems like it'd be a simple thing to make it look better.
Yeah, I mean, typically it would add a lot of polygon count to it, I think, and also it would detract from the satellite imagery. You'd have to project the satellite imagery onto the sidewalks, I think, to have it look the best. But yeah, I think we need probably a better way than that to do the sidewalks. But it's definitely would be really cool though. Okay, so I think I'll get into the tutorial. Does anybody else have any questions so far? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show how to model a building. It's a building in Boulder, Colorado, because that's where we're from. So let me just fly there. And the first step for doing this is you have to locate the area in Google Earth that you want to model. And basically just fly into the area. This is the building that we're going to model right here. You want to center it in your view. And a simple way to get, and you also want to have an overhead view of the building. So a simple way to get that is from any view, you can just hit R in Google Earth, R in your keyboard, and it will align your view to perpendicular to the ground. And so you want to center it in your view, and then open up SketchUp. That's cool looking. Okay. There's this neat thing where sometimes on this computer, if you have Google Earth open first, SketchUp doesn't work very well. So let me do it the other way around. I also wanted to ask, has anybody tried doing this before? How many, like about 5 people, 6 people or something out of the class? Is everybody else, this is pretty new to people? Okay, so I'll try to keep it pretty simple, and if you guys have more other questions you'd like to ask me, just speak up. Okay, so let's try this again. SketchUp seems to be working better. Okay, so once you're in SketchUp, there's a toolbar, which I'm looking at here, called the Google toolbar, which is for using for integrating Google Earth and SketchUp, and also the 3D Warehouse. So from within here, there's this button called Get Current View, and what this will do is grab the imagery and terrain from Google Earth and import it into SketchUp. So I'll hit that button, and it'll take just a second. And ta-da, we have this somewhat blurry terrain, but you can see it's somewhat blurry in here too. The very first thing you want to do when you import in terrain is you'll often notice that buildings are not always oriented north to south. They're often at different angles. So the first step to do is use the axes tool and align the axes to your building. And this one is pretty much north to south, so it's not really much of a change at all.
So that doesn't matter what it is actually on the site, like if that's not actually north-south.
Oh, no,
You're
yeah.
just doing this so that you're modeling it up quicker,
Yeah.
orthogonally.
Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, like say for example, the building was at like this angle or something,
Yeah.
then all of the tools in SketchUp would be really difficult to use. So it would be much easier just to grab the axes tool and set your axes to this first, and then all the tools will work really well. Okay, so let me get that set up again. Okay. And the next step is to basically build your model. We have two methods for building texture models in SketchUp. If you came to my class this morning, those were explained in more detail. Basically, the feature in SketchUp called matching a photo is the best thing to use because it will allow you to create models that are proportionally accurate. And then if you combine that with the data you get from Google Earth, where you can see the size of the building, then you can make it proportionally accurate based on the size, which will also tell you the height of the building. So you can get proportionally accurate models, which work great for Google Earth. So this is the little building that we're going to try and model.
Where did that picture come from?
Just a digital camera.
So you took that?
Yeah, somebody I know took it. I don't know exactly who.
I missed how in SketchUp what language you went in under.
Oh, to
Just import
oh to get the terrain. Oh, okay. It's just a Google toolbar, and if you go to your window menu, and then just go to actually, sorry, your view menu, and then toolbars, and then Google. But you're on a Mac, so where is that at? I'm not sure exactly where it's on a Mac. It's
Go
yeah.
to SketchUp preferences. And it shows. Sorry.
there's Google Earth
Yeah,
tools.
Your axis happens to fall along the building. What if it didn't?
Yeah, if your axes did not follow the building, you just need to use the axes tool to reset it so that it was following along the building.
So you can rotate it.
Yeah. So like with the axes tool, you basically click one time to set the origin point, and then you can rotate it, and then you click another time to set that point, and then a third time to set the other axes. And some of this might be difficult to follow along in real time, but the handout that we gave you should cover pretty much most everything you need to know. There's also some more documentation online if you go to the 3D warehouse. Well, that should pop up sometime. Okay. If you go to the 3D warehouse, over here on the side, it says Model for Google Earth and Modeling Guide. You can open this up, and it has also much more information about how to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is match this photo to this building plot. And the first thing you want to do with this is first determine the scale of your model, because you can match a photo and then have your it'll be entirely out of scale with actual reality, and you won't even know it. So you first want to draw just at least one wall in your model so that you can ensure that what you're drawing is to scale. And so I'm going to just draw this one wall right here. I'll draw it really tall. It doesn't matter at this point. I'm just drawing one wall so that we know that what we're drawing is to scale. And actually I might draw two walls.
By the way, when I tried importing something that came in grayscale,
Yeah.
is there,
Yeah, it will always come in grayscale. There's a trick that I'll show later on to get it put in color. It's a licensing issue that we didn't want people to be able to get the color imagery out of Google Earth very easily, even though it is actually pretty easy to. Yeah, you can do it anyway.
Only the real thieves know how to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so to match a new photo, what we're going to do is go to the File menu and Import. And I have all of my photos here. I'm going to go to Thumbnail View so we can see them better. And this is the photo I'm going to match. And so when you're matching a photo, the most important thing is to that you have to work on a photo that has a right angle in the image, because basically what you're setting up is a special view in a special camera in SketchUp to match the exact point where you're standing when you took the photograph. So and it basically, after you set up that view, it works like like you were drawing a hand-drawn perspective, and so you have to have the two receding perpendicular faces to go off to the vanishing points.
And that doesn't matter if you're taking it from above or below?
Yeah, well, there's some things that matter if you're taking it from above or below. So the main thing that matters is when you're taking it from the ground, you have to set your origin point to be on the bottom of the building. Whereas if you're taking it from above, then you want to set the origin point at the top of the building, and it'll just work a lot better. But other than that, it works the same way. Okay, so let me import this in. Oops. Okay, and I'm just going to the import menu, file, import image, and selecting the image and saying use as new matched photo over here. Okay, and then it pops up with all this, which isn't actually as scary as it looks. In the match photo dialog over here, you have two checkboxes to turn on and off the photo and turn on and off the model. So I'm just going to turn off the model for now to make it a little bit easier to look at. And what we have are these things which are what are called axes bars, which will help you to align the actual axes, which are seen right here, and you can see the origin point here. So what we're going to do is all we're doing is just aligning these to match the perpendicular perspective lines going off to infinity. And then you can see the vanishing points here, and they get adjusted as we move these bars. So you can see both of these are just pointing to that vanishing point, and both of these over here are just pointing to that vanishing point. And so if I click and move this guy and drag it out to get it aligned along a perspective line, and do the same for here, you can see this vanishing point is getting more into the correct spot. It'll work a lot better if you zoom in close, because you can see I was zoomed out pretty far and that's actually not very precise, so I should probably move it down. And same with the side. And just get it aligned as well as you can.
On the spacing on that, would it work better if you went to the bottom of the windows?
Yeah, definitely.
Distance?
Yeah, this will in general work a little bit more accurately if you align it to not only make your perspective bars farther apart vertically, and then also the longer you can make them, the more accurate it will be as well. So yeah, it would probably be a better place to do it down here along the top of this flashing stuff.
And then in this morning session, you said just stay away from using the ground, because
Yeah.
the ground's not.
Yeah, the ground might be sloped to in some way. Like almost every single building in the world has some sort of slope in the ground, so you don't want to align to it. Yeah. Okay, so all I'm doing is just aligning these. And then this one has a little bit of, there's not very much to align it to here, but I'll just align it to the top of this doorway. Just anything that you're sure is a horizontal line will work.
The bottom of the eaves would work too.
Yeah, the bottom of these would work as well. We could try that. Yeah. So let's get them aligned to the bottom of these eaves.
Well, you don't know if those are the same.
Oh, you
We can
they are.
probably guess they are.
Well,
Yeah.
No, there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. It could not be, but it'll probably be okay. And then what we want to do is set this origin point to be on a corner of the building. In this case, the bottom corner of the building, because this is a photograph taken from below or from the ground. And then just set it to be at a corner where the two planes of the perpendicular faces meet. And so I'm just setting it at the bottom of this corner right here. And that's almost it. Okay, so I'm just going to stop for a second and right-click and say done on the photograph. So now you can see we have the image aligned correctly, but we don't have it scaled correctly. So there's our building here that we have drawn to the correct scale, horizontal scale in Google Earth, but you can see it's way too small for the actual building. It's obviously not scaled correctly, and it's really not scaled correctly in the vertical direction. And so if you look here, the cool thing is that you can see, once we have the model here, that all we're doing is just setting up this special view where things align.
Or is it you're applying to, way selecting to switch between visual modes?
Oh, okay. The way I'm switching in and out of photo match is just by, when you're in the matched view, you can just orbit to get out of it. So that's a special thing to remember, is that when you're in this view, you cannot do any orbiting, which is odd because SketchUp's all built around doing orbiting. So all you have to do is just orbit and you'll get out of it. And it gives you a little warning when you're in this view. Like once you first click, you'll see it says 3D next to your little orbiter, and which just is warning you that you're going out of this 2D view. And yeah, and then to get back into it, each time you match a photo, it creates a page at the top. So you just click on that and it'll take you back into the view. And so now I'm going to scale this so it's the correct size on here. So editing the matched photo. And then to scale, all you have to do is, if you hover over any of the axes, you can see that they highlight slightly and it says zoom in or out. And so if I click on this and zoom, you can see it's zooming everything proportionally. It just looks, all three of these do the same thing is all I'm saying. And so what I'll do is just scale this until it's the right size. So you can see there's the wall there, just scaling it until it's the right size. And you can see that I drew it way too tall, but that's fine. We'll just say done. And then now if we go into the view, it's much more what we want to do. And what you can do also is for viewing this image as textures onto the model, you can project this photo onto the model. And you can do that in 3 different ways. There's one button here, project textures from photo. You can also click on the photo and say project photo. Or if you want to just project it onto a few faces, you just have to select them and say project photo. So
again, sorry, how again do you bring in the image?
Mm-hmm.
You don't just import it as a JPEG, do you?
Yeah, you just do import as a JPEG, but then you have to make sure you have this use as new matched photo thing at the bottom checked. Yeah. And so I'm just going to project the photo onto this model. And now you can see that there's this little bump out thing that I need to model, so I'll do that really quickly. Actually, before I do that, let me just show you what that actually did. So it's actually putting the images onto the model in the semi-successful way that we've done so far. It also creates lines along where the borders of the image hit your faces. So I'm going to get rid of these really quickly. And then just grab this and move this down to right underneath the soffit. And just finish off some of the base geometry of this building. Okay. And so now this is one little tip. When you're in this matched view and you have textures applied, sometimes it can get pretty confusing when you start drawing on the geometry to extrude new things. So say for example I wanted to extrude out this front part. I can draw the line right here along where I know that it extrudes and then start extruding it, but I can't see anything correctly because I'm moving a face with the texture on it. So it's really good to go out of that view and into a hidden line mode with X-ray turned on. And then you can just you can see the underlying image without the textures getting in or getting in the way and confusing you. And so I'll move this out to the correct location. And then now that this plane is pushed out there, I can find where this intersects with that. And I'll just draw another line here. And then scoot this part back. The great thing about in this matched photo view is that you all of the inferencing of normal SketchUp works in the exact same manner. All the tools work in the exact same manner. It's just a lot of them are kind of difficult to use because you can't orbit. So one great thing that you can do is if you want to affect geometry that you can't see, is you can start operations on the geometry while you're while you're in normal SketchUp, and then go back into the matched view and finish the operation. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Like, say for example, I wanted to do the same thing that I did here to the back side of this building. I can just orbit around to the back side of the building. I know that it's going to be symmetrical to this because you can see it's just the same thing going all the way back. Draw this there, draw this there, and then start pulling this out. And actually, let me see. I'm going to draw a guideline going back so I know exactly how far to pull it back. Actually, it looks like it's in fairly the right spot, so that means I probably traced the footprint a little bit wrong. That's okay. Then we can just scoot this back to where it looks like it aligns. Yep, and I have multiple pictures, so we can just walk through multiple photos. It's not too hard. And so
it's symmetrical, so you can almost fake it and pretend like the other corner is exactly the same, but
yeah,
in the photograph.
Yeah, you could easily do that.
The shadows will be
yeah, the shadows will be wrong. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of flesh out a little bit more of this geometry here. And yet again,
you can almost just create half of this building and flip it.
Oh yeah, also definitely. Okay, so what I was doing the same thing there where I couldn't push pull this face, so I went out of the view, started push pulling it, and then started push pulling it, and then went back into the view. Keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, and then just.
So you're going out of the view by doing a 3D rotation, right?
Yeah, just doing an orbit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and now I know that these two roofs are the same height, so I'm going to grab those two and just pull them up until they match the angle of the roof. And then do the same thing up here. I'll draw a line going down the center of the gable and grab that and pull it up. Alright, so we've got the basic geometry there. I'll add, show you how you can add the gables as well, or the fishes. So by using by using our knowledge that this plane is going to have an intersection point if it were to expand out to infinity, we know that it's going to intersect with this bottom line at some point. And we know that as long as we make this line straight along the same axis or along the same orientation, it's going to hit it at the correct spot. So all we have to do is, this is a pretty cool trick. You can force an inference in SketchUp just by hovering over an edge until it says on edge. And then you'll see that you'll get a sort of magenta line coming out. And that'll happen for anything. So like if we wanted to, do that for this one, also just hover over it until it says on edge, and now we have a forced inference that's always locking it to that same angle. So that's a pretty cool trick. So I'm just going to do the same thing here. And pull it down until it matches this corner. And then I can draw a vertical line there. I drew it a little bit too big, and that's okay. So if we bring it out here and then come up here, this is not, I could add more detail, but I'm just not going to, for the sake of time. And just copy that back, and now we have the correct height for that. And hover over this, get on edge again, and come up, cut that off. And then taking this.
But when you moved that line to copy it over, that didn't take into account the perspective, did it?
Yes, it did.
I mean, it's a small point, but.
Yeah. So what was your question exactly?
Well, you copied that out at the edge, and then you moved it back. Does it automatically calculate for the perspective as you move it back?
Yes. Yeah. So it's working exactly the same as normal SketchUp. So, like, say for example, if I turn on what he was asking about, for anybody that couldn't hear. Just when I copied that line back, was it staying in perspective? And yes, it is. I'll show you why. So if I go to styles here and go to edge styles by axes. Okay, so this is the option that will color all of your lines by axis. And so you can see that what I'm doing here is actually drawing out a red line along the red axis, which goes in that direction on the building.
And the whole reason why you set up at the beginning, just to
Yeah.
get the perspective.
Yeah, and so it's just.
You're drawing in that, your axis is the perspective.
Yep. Yeah, that's no problem. And then since now I've pushed this out to the front of the gable, and you can just measure that way. That's what I just did. Okay. Now that I've got half of this roof drawn, I'll just do the simple copy scale to -1. Oops, my mouse this is a sloped mouse pad. So just scale and then type in -1, and I'll get precisely what I want. And I'll just move it down. And so now that I've got that, I'll just delete this extra line and push this out to the correct length. So push and pull is a little bit finicky sometimes. It works entirely different depending on which point on the face you pick. So if I pick a face over here, it's going to be moving along a point right here. So it's a little bit easier than one up here because it has less inferencing problems. Okay, so I'll just pull that out to the correct distance.
Is there a quick way to turn inferencing off?
No, it's hardwired.
It's always there.
It's always there. A lot of people wish that they could turn it off, but you can't. I'm sorry.
It would be nice if it was a toggle or something, because sometimes it just gets in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been requests for that for a long time.
Because you're visually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so now I've got that roof area drawn. And I'll do the same over here with these bottom roofs. And again, I just drag it out, find out the height, and then move that back. Oops. It's a little bit hard to tell if things are selected when you have these colored edges on because the selection color is blue and so is the vertical color. Okay, so I got that. Just pull it out. And then pull this back. And I can easily just, this is a pretty simple little trick also. Like if you have something going in this direction and you want to be able to replicate it and going that direction at the same distance, you can just make a guideline going from there, select it, and move it starting from a point on the other side. and we'll just copy it to that point, and you see that now it's, you know, sticking out that direction instead. And then we know how far to pull that out. And then I'll just copy this roof over to the other side. Yeah, it sometimes it will automatically delete it, and sometimes it won't. In general, it's good to go through and delete your extra faces before you post to the 3D warehouse, just to optimize it a little bit. But you don't have to necessarily do it every second along the way. So.
Do you have copied the whole plane and not just the surface?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. There's lots of ways to do everything. Yeah, but that's a great idea. Okay, so now we've got this little building pretty much fleshed out. And now if I go out of the X-ray mode and back into textured mode and just select my building and project the photo onto it again, it will prompt me, if you already have some textures on some of your faces and you try to project the photo, it will prompt you if you want to overwrite them and you just want to say yes. And ta-da, we have a little building. Yeah, and you'll see that this side is obviously not done yet because we haven't done it. There's one trick that we could do if we want to fake that side really quickly. Would be, you know, either the mirroring thing that was mentioned before, or you can project textures. So if you just select a face, right-click on it, and go to the texture, and projected, and then grab your paint bucket tool. And if you hold down Alt with your paint bucket tool, you'll get this eyedropper thing, which means that you're sampling a texture. You just sample that, and then paste it onto another face. And this will just basically shoot the pixels out along the normal to the face and allow you to paint it in the exact same spot on the other face. But we don't necessarily have to do that. We can use other photos that we have of that actual side. Okay, so this is that other side. This would probably be a pretty good one to do. So you can match multiple photos to your model. It sometimes is a little bit tricky, but it's in general it's not too hard. There's pretty much just one thing you have to remember. It's you need to reset your origin, or reset your axes to a new point that you're going to be matching around. So like right now, if you look at our model, we have the origin set to this corner, but when we want to match this photo, we'll want to move the origin over to this corner because that's the new corner for this model. And so I'm just going to grab the axis tool, reset the origin axes to this side, and then go to File, Import our second image. And I'll just find that. And use as new matched photo. Open. And once you already have a model, it even becomes a little bit more confusing when you have the model sitting on top of it. So I'll just go to the dialog and turn the model off. And then, just as before, aligning the perspective bars so that they work with this model, or work with this new image, I'm sorry. Again, zooming in to get them aligned as well as possible. And what's great about modeling these sort of buildings is that they offer great context. So if you're like an architect or a planner or landscape architect or anything, this will allow you to have context for your new project. Okay, and I'll probably do this one along this bottom part here. Okay, and then just move the origin point to this new point. Okay, and once we've got this all set up, I'm just going to turn the model back on. You'll see it's out of scale again, so all I have to do is just scale it again. And And this can sometimes be a slight bit tricky. So sometimes I go into the wireframe mode because you can see the image really clearly and the edges really clearly. Sorry. And then you can just kind of pick up your origin and move it until you get it pretty well aligned. And scale is necessary. Okay, so that's pretty good. And then we'll just right click, say done, go back into our textured view, and then select the faces that we want to reproject. So like this face right here, you can see it has part of this face projected onto it, so I'll reproject that. This one, and this one. And then project photo. It'll prompt me again to overwrite the existing materials. I'll say OK. And ta-da, we have our building pretty much done. I think we have probably photos of the last side. I can show one other thing for applying some images here using the other technique that's not matched photos. Let me see. Well,
Can you use more straight-on photos after you have the initial
yeah.
build?
Oh yeah.
Is that an advantage?
Yeah, definitely. It just allows you to more straight-on photos will you'll have less occlusion of different areas because of things sticking out, like such as this front part where we had it was occluding this face partially, and using more straight-on photos will allow you to avoid that.
Do you ever go back and just redo all the sides of straight-on photos?
Yeah, definitely. That can easily be done. Yeah, I've done that before.
What if you got a model that you've already built?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just drop it in?
Oh yeah, drop it into Google Earth.
Google Earth, yeah.
Yeah, easily. If you already have a model if you have a model you've already built, you can just import the terrain into SketchUp and place the model in the correct spot and just put it into Google Earth.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. There's actually, you can build a model in any manner you want. I'm just showing you like kind of the easiest way to or one of the easy ways to sort of get the sort of photorealistic model.
Yeah, this seems to be good for getting the surrounding buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you want to put it in a new building, yeah, if you already have a model made, there's no reason why you can't put it in there. Yeah. Okay. Let me just see if I can find the photos for that face. It's a different side. Okay, these ones are fairly occluded, so I think some of this might be good to try to work on in Photoshop. Okay, so this guy, for example. If you would like to work on a face in Photoshop, it's pretty easy as well. I can just show you a quick method for doing that. I'm just going to open this with Photoshop, just to remove some of these tarps from the image. Any questions? Yeah.
So even though Google Earth brings that image in at a certain size, you scale it up to match whatever size your photo comes in, and Google Earth will just automatically know the building needs to be a certain size.
Yeah, well, that's why I first started off with drawing a rough footprint of the building, and then using the photograph to refine it somewhat, so that when you start with the footprint, you're calibrating the image to approximately the right scale, and then you're just refining it after that.
So if someone else builds a model building next door to you, makes and you look at the two in Google Earth, what makes the two roughly correct in size is the fact that you both positioned your footprints from that same satellite image.
Yeah, that's the main thing. It's they're all, if they're all drawn from the same horizontal scale, and then they all use this photo matching system to get the heights from, then they're all going to be proportional in scale to each other.
Point of clarification, it looked like you were scaling the models to match the photograph.
No, yeah, like when you're in the matched view, all you're doing is, it's all camera based. So all you're doing is just moving. When like in this case right here, where it looks like the model's moving, the model's not moving, the model's staying exactly still. Right now the model's not rotating. We're like zipping around to the other side of the model. When you're doing this sort of thing where you're doing this, not scaling the model and zooming it, so it's all camera based. Yeah. Yeah, that's why if you go up to the camera menu up here, the match new photo is in the camera menu because it's all about camera calibration.
When you're taking a picture for this, should you be using a wide angle or?
No, you want to use a like a normal sort of lens. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the thing that I'm doing right now is I'm going to take the perspective out of this image in Photoshop using a perspective cropping tool. This will not keep the scale or the proportional scaling of the image, but that's okay because we already have the model scaled correctly. So what I'm going to do is just use the crop tool here, and just it's similar to SketchUp, just finding points in the image that I know are parallel and perpendicular. And just aligning this crop box. To get this crop box to work in this manner, you have to check when you have the crop tool selected, you have to check perspective up here, and it will allow the crop box to be skewed. And so, just getting that about like that. And now you can see the image is rectified. And so to take out these sort of obstructions, it's pretty easy. There's many ways to do this, but I'll just show this sort of basic example where you can take a part of the image and stretch it over the part of the face that's occluded. Also, you can use this tool, which is the stamp tool. Sorry, thank you. To paint over the occlusions. I think I have this opacity set really low. Yeah. You can see that blending doesn't look the best though. Try to get the blending to look a little bit better. Okay, but that's basically how you can do that. And then taking this, saving this image out. And you can import in this rectified image in the same manner as here, except for you want to say apply to use it as a texture. And it'll just grab this and apply it. And here we're going to use the texture positioning tool. The texture positioning tool has two modes. One which will allow you to skew, or it's called free pen mode, where you can distort perspective out of images real easily, or you can use the fixed pen mode, which will allow you to scale and rotate your image. So from here, if you go to texture and position, then you have these 4 pens that pop up. What I'm going to do is just set this to the corner of this image. You'll notice that these little pens, these are basically meant to look like push pens. They have a little pushy part of the pen and a grabby part of the pen, or I guess a pointy part of the pen. And you just have to make sure that when you're setting this, that the pointy part of the pen is going to the part that you want it to. And I'll just set this, align it to the corner of the image. scale the image out a little bit, and then scale it vertically. And we've got that applied. Okay, and just, I think we're running a little low on time, so I'm going to just finish this up just by grabbing these faces and putting them onto the back. Oops. Okay. And then we could probably do the same sort of thing here. Grab this face, scoot it back. And so what I'm doing is just aligning this face over here so I can sample from it and paint onto that. Paint onto that. Okay, so now we have a pretty fast made little house, or little, I think it's a schoolhouse actually, which is ready for Google Earth. So to preview your model in Google Earth, there is this button here, Place Model, which I believe is not working on my computer right now. So let's just try it. Maybe it's working. I'll be surprised. What?
What should happen?
Oh, what this is doing is just exporting the model as a KMZ Google Earth file and just opening it in Google Earth. Let's see if it worked. Yeah, it didn't work on here. There's another way to do it though. So I've just been testing lots of things in here, so something broke. So just going to the export menu, 3D model, and I'll just export it as a Google Earth 4 file. Export that. Just wait again. There's also another thing you want to do to check your model is if you have a hilly site, there's a button here, right up here, which is called Toggle Terrain, which will just basically turn on and off terrain. This site is really not that hilly, so it's not a big deal at all. But you can see that when I turn on terrain, part of this model goes above ground, which will cause it to be floating slightly, just a really slight bit. So you want to select your building and move it downwards so that it hits the terrain. I'm just going to save this. Okay, and so now if we open that file that we exported, ta-da! We have a little house in Google Earth, or schoolhouse there.
Did you paste it in there?
No, I just, sorry, I went to File, Open, and then just opened the exported file.
Why did it place it so precisely?
Because of the very first step we did was to import that ground from Google Earth. So it's importing that, so it's geolocating the model so it knows exactly where it should be, and then you're building it to be the right scale so it knows exactly where it should be in Google Earth. And so now we have this little model.
Now, if that model's on Google Earth right now, I can go into Google Earth and I'll find your model?
No, so it's not going to be directly into the layer immediately. What you have to do is import it or upload it to the 3D warehouse. And generally within about 2 weeks, it will be in the layer if it's deemed to be, good through all the QA steps. There's just
What are the criteria?
The criteria are listed on the 3D warehouse. Basically, it's that you build accurate models of real world structures, and that they are hopefully textured with photographs.
So if you did your personal house, you did an excellent job technically, that wouldn't necessarily...
Well, in general, we will accept everything that is the best model of that building that's on the 3D warehouse. So if it's the best model that anybody's made of your house, which you'll probably be the only person doing it, it'll probably get in.
My house was built in 27, but maybe someone in 58 doesn't get in because it's not old enough.
Oh no, there's no, like I have like all of the houses I've lived in Google Earth, so yeah, people's houses are fine. So yeah, if you go to the 3D warehouse on the side here under the model for Google Earth section, there's this thing, acceptance criteria. And this details in more detail the reasons why we might not let your model in.
So generally speaking, low polygon
Mhm.
model with picture mapping,
Mhm.
with good pictures that are placed well, that's likely to get in.
Yes, yeah. Photo textured low poly models are the preference for this. Just
If you had two of those, the only difference between one and another might be that one has more detail or less detail.
yeah, it's just it's going to be a sort of a quality judgment call, and hopefully we can get that to be more transparent in the future.
Is it somebody's full-time job to look at these buildings?
Yeah, there's some people that do that.
Are these placed automatically? I didn't catch that. Are they?
Oh, let me just walk through the. Yeah, once you submit it to the 3D warehouse, it will go through it will be put into a review process where within about like 2 to 4 weeks, depending on push schedules, it will be in the layer.
Right. So when I just did a crude one and tried to place it right now,
Mhm.
that doesn't go in for review.
Yeah, no, it will probably go in for review and probably be denied. So, yeah, because we want the layer to be quality. So, yeah. If you're just testing it, it's
out there though.
Yeah, did you put it on the 3D warehouse, or did you just?
I
Okay.
just put it into Google Earth.
Oh, if you just put it into Google Earth, it's only on your computer right now. It's not public until you actually go through the posting steps, which I'll do really quickly here.
When you make it public, can someone grab it and use it?
Yes.
Or-
Yeah. It's kind of like a Wikipedia sort of concept. Like everything that's put on the 3D warehouse is available for other people to use, which is kind of cool if you think about if you're like an architect and you have a bunch of people making these little buildings in your town, and then you have to make you have a project over here, and you want to grab context. All of a sudden, you have all the buildings that everybody else made to help with your context. So that can be really cool. We have actually a program here which is on this page I'm actually on right now called the Cities in 3D program. So if you're like a city or an architect and you want to donate data without having it being publicly available on the 3D warehouse, you can go through this program and donate your data so that it shows up in Google Earth without having to have it publicly accessible by everybody on the 3D warehouse. Okay, so let me just go through the posting stuff really quick because I think we have like 7 minutes left. Okay, so once you're happy with your model and we looked at it in Google Earth, looks fine. What you want to do is find a nice view because this is the view that everybody's going to see it in the world on the 3D warehouse. So find a nice looking view. And then on the same Google toolbar, there's a button called Share Model. And it looks like a little box with an arrow going into it. And this one looks like a box with an arrow coming out of it. This is for downloading stuff out of the 3D warehouse. This is for putting stuff into the 3D warehouse. So that's what we're going to do, is share the model. And this takes a couple seconds because what it has to do is export out the KMZ and then take the KMZ and the SketchUp file and ship those off to the 3D warehouse.
Once you've created it on your local hard drive,
Mm-hmm.
when you shut down your machine and launch it again, go into Google Earth, is it still going to be there?
Yeah, it typically will. So in your Places panel in Google Earth, there's the area called Temporary Places and My Places. So if you take your exported model, this little guy, and drag it out of Temporary Places and into My Places, and then close down Google Earth and start it up again, it will show up every time.
And if someone else had a building, if you wanted to create something that somebody else had already,
Mm-hmm.
there's a model in there,
Yeah.
would yours overwrite theirs?
Yeah, you just have to I'll show you right here. So like if you
It's okay, I just wanted to know if it would.
no, it won't automatically. I don't think. Yeah, no, it won't automatically. But if you want to view it, your local model instead of the public model, you just have to, when the buildings are turned on, just like say we wanted to get rid of this building, you just right click on it and say hide building, and it'll go away, and you can show your building instead. But that'll only be on your computer.
What's the reverse of that?
The reverse of that is restarting Google Earth. There's no other way to get the building back. Yeah, it's a little annoying.
For city planning, and I'm from Austin, Texas, and we have a thing called Residential Design and Compatibility Commission that every time you want to do any kind of house within some of these neighborhoods, you got to show pictures of all the houses within 300 feet.
Yeah.
And still, those guys have no idea what you're showing them, right? They have no idea. Is anyone, you know of anyone that is actually building neighborhoods like this for that purpose?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's actually one of our first case studies of this was Colorado Springs, and also in Colorado, which I could find really slowly by hunting for it, or I could type it in. Okay, that wasn't too far. So Colorado Springs, this was the local AIA chapter of Colorado Springs built a bunch of models of their downtown, which are loading right now. And they're considering their, last I heard, what they were doing was using these models. They were going to start requiring every building built in the city to submit a model of this sort style, so that they could review it and see it in context, and so that the actual reviewers would know what they're talking about. And when they're displaying it to the public, everybody can kind of see what they're talking about as well.
We have an awful situation in our town. Just the neighborhood just oppose everything. What they do is they just automatically oppose it, and now it's up to the architects to show that they're compatible and that they're meeting all the standards and all the codes and everything. So it's just sort of a game.
Yep.
And so, I think that our chapter would love to put that stuff together for our town.
Yeah.
And I think the city would do well to help finance some of that, just because the people that can't afford the architects are in awful shape. They have no idea how to get anything through.
Yeah.
The architects now have a stranglehold on any development because they're the only ones that can fool around with it.
Yeah.
Or even know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's what makes this a really great tool is that it's a tool available to everybody, and everybody can kind of view this data in a context that makes sense and is easily accessible. So, yeah, it's a great idea, and I agree. Okay, so let me just finish showing how to upload this model to the 3D warehouse. You have to have a Google account, which I already have one, so I'll just log in real quick. Okay, once you're logged in, since we're uploading this model, it'll prompt you for a title. I think this is called Clementine School. A school. You'd probably want to type a much better description than that. I don't really know anything about this building, so address, all I really know is that it's in Boulder. This little box right here is definitely important. You want to check this box. This model is a real, current, and correctly located building. This will ensure that you receive feedback on whether your model gets into Google Earth or whether it didn't. You'll notice if I go back to here, go to my models. So these are a bunch of buildings that I've made. If I click on one of them, and at the bottom here it says status accepted the 3D buildings layer. Down here at the bottom it will also tell you status not accepted the 3D buildings layer because, and it will tell you because of one of these reasons over here. These are the reasons why you could possibly not be accepted in the layer. So it'll let you know why your model is not in the layer. So that's pretty cool.
It takes a couple of weeks to get that.
Yeah, it'll take a couple weeks to get that feedback.
Or
and
you get the input real quickly, right?
No, I'm going through the same thing as everybody else. But yeah, it's we're working on making all this more seamless and faster. Okay, so you can also put in a website if you want to, as well as tags. Tags are cool because they're just terms that you can click on in the 3D warehouse, and it will link to other models that also have that same term. So if I type in like school here, it will put a link there where you can click on school, and it'll show all the other buildings in the 3D warehouse that have school written on them. So it's just a quick way to link things. It's always good to put the city name in there too, and maybe the state name. Okay, and now that's done, I'll just hit upload. And this will take a few seconds also. I'll go through this upload process where it's uploading 3 different things: the SketchUp file, the it might have still actually been successful. Maybe not. Well, that's neat. Let me try again.
Can you remove something you post to the 3D warehouse?
Yeah, easily. Once when you're on the 3D warehouse looking at your models, you can only remove stuff that you put up there. You can't remove other people's things, because that would be mean. But you'll notice that here there's remove and edit, which are right next to every model. Okay, let's try this one more time. I promise that this works. If it's not working right now, there's probably some good reason for it. But yeah. I heard that it might not be working today, so that's a bummer. Well, I promise it works for the most part. Well, looks like it kind of worked. Never mind. Okay, but anyway, it'll show up on your, when you go to the log into 3D warehouse and you say go to My Models, it'll show up in your My Models area. As you can see, there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands. I can keep saying that, of buildings that have been uploaded to the 3D warehouse, and for the most part, it works. I'm not sure why it's not working right now. And then once you have your model uploaded to the 3D warehouse, you can either wait for it to get it put into the layer, or there's also another way for people to preview your model, which is, let's see. No, that's not it. Maybe I can't find this right now either. Yeah. Yeah, I can't find this right now. Never mind. Okay, yeah, I have it downloaded already. But there's this thing called the 3D Warehouse Network link, which will offer download links in Google Earth for anybody who has it, for everything that's been geolocated in Google Earth. So if we fly to our site in Boulder, and you'll see that since I saved it into My Places, the building's still there. I can turn that off. But you'll notice that because I have this 3D Warehouse Network link downloaded, there's already immediately a link to the building. So that's about it. Any questions?
Pictures to SketchUp?
Bring in what?
Pictures of their aerial photo. The people that would.
Oh, color. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. So. Okay. So, what you want to do is when you're importing the terrain, if you want to replace it with color terrain, at the same time you're importing it in, you need to save out an image from Google Earth, and then all we're going to do is just a simple replace of that file of the black and white file with a color file. And so to do this, I'm just going to delete this ground. The ground is actually not storing the georeference at all. All it is just a visual reference for you, so we can delete it and it doesn't matter. And there's actually two versions, a flat version and a terrained version, so I'm just deleting both of those. And so I'll get my view again. And grab that view. Okay, and then at the same time, without moving the screen at all, I want to go to File and Save Image. This will pop up if you're in the Pro version, but it won't pop up if you're not in the Pro version. You don't get to pick image size. And then I'll just call this ground. Okay, so now we've exported a color ground image, which we can see here. It's just that. And then within SketchUp, all you have to do is get again your paint bucket tool, sample that so that you can grab the correct texture over here. And then from within the materials palette, if you go to edit and this use texture image thing down here, and just this little folder icon will allow you to reload another image. You can just reload and select the ground image. And ta-da, we have a color image. So that's how you can do that. Any more questions?
Could you tell us the difference between just regular Google Earth and Pro version? What's
Yeah.
in the Pro version?
Yeah, so all of the data that's in there and the loading speeds are all the same. The difference between the Pro version and the free version is that the Pro version has allows for larger export of images, so you can export images that are like poster size sort of things, whereas the free version you're just exporting little small screenshots. The Pro version also has a movie maker module, so you can make movies in Google Earth, which is really cool. The Pro version also has more. I think no, it doesn't even have that. It doesn't have more drawing tools. It has. Yeah, it also has more importers, so it allows you to import in like JS and GPS sort of things, and I think that's about it.
I don't even know what a JS and UPS is.
No, GIS, like Geographic Information Systems. So like if you have, like if you have like planning sort of files or different GIS formats, it'll import, and then also GPS tracks. So like if you have like a little GPS device and you go out and walk a track or drive your car and get your Garmin and you get like a bunch of points, you can import files from that and get to see them in Google Earth and see where you went.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what those are.
And for that privilege, what am I paying in the Pro version?
The Pro version I think is $400. I know more about SketchUp than I do about this, but let's just look.
It'd be really nice if you guys gave out like 5 copies of that for
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
for the people that didn't win anything yet.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I'll write that on my little comment sheet.
Yeah, sounds like a good comment. The it looks like it's $400. There's so we can actually look on the Google Earth page and go to compare products. Yeah, and so printing images, saving images are different sizes. GPS data import, real-time GPS tracking. That's pretty cool. Spreadsheet data import. So there's lots more ways to import things. Also, it looks like in the Pro version you can measure area. I didn't realize you can do that in the free version, but that's pretty cool. Being able to specify a polygon and find area is pretty neat.
Your job function is that your responsibility to kind of keep track of what SketchUp's doing with Google Earth? And
Yeah. And sort of teaching people about it. So, yeah. Any more questions? Okay, thank you guys.